Hello and welcome. I'm Darren. We're back. We're back in Cyberpunk 2077 again. Because the same thing just will not stop. So, we are looking at the better visuals allegedly that you get on AMD, the better colors allegedly that you get on AMD, the better textures, the fuller pixels, you name it. It's all there for everyone to see, apart from me. And that annoys me because it makes me think that there is something wrong with my AMD GPU. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it doesn't work the same as other people's. So we need to figure this out. I am asking the community what is wrong with my AMD GPU that it doesn't work like other people's, because these are things that just don't happen to me. I just seem to have a different experience. Now, that's not saying, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the experience that I'm getting. I just do not have the superior experience over my other GPU. At native, they look the same. They look the same as in visual quality. They look the same in the colors they produce. And the reason they do that is because I leave everything at default. At default, I think everything to me looks perfectly fine. The colors look realistic. In games where the colors are supposed to look crazy vibrant, they do look, from what I'm concerned, they do look crazy vibrant. I don't find a reason to change the colors. I mean, I suppose realistically, you go into, like, at this moment in time, I'm on the NVIDIA GPU. So if I go into something like my Steam Light, I had a feeling it was going to do that. If I go into the Steam library, it better show, okay, and I click on the Cyberpunk, or what's another one which is going to be crazy vibrant, like the Red Dead Redemption, or that Marvel's thing was a good one, but I don't think I've got, I probably do have it. I'm not going to load it up. Probably wasn't my best example, but I have no problem, apart from my Steam library loading up on my other screen and not my main screen. That wasn't particularly handy. But I don't have a problem with my colors as standard. Maybe I'm different. If I go onto YouTube, everything, that green looks very green, very bright. The yellows look very yellow, very bright. The reds are almost too over the top. I don't have an issue with my standard colors. I have no reason to mess with them. And that goes for both GPUs. I just don't mess with them. Maybe I've just got a... Apparently, I was told last night that I have a bad monitor and I'm colorblind. I don't know. I don't like... if it's a realistic scene, like the scene in front of me on my screensaver, I don't want that green for the grass to look hyperglow green on realistic alien world. I want it to look the color that I would probably expect the grass to be if I looked at this scene in real life. So I'm fine with my colors, and I leave them at standard, and that's what happens. So I've done a couple of videos, and they are side by side. So I'm going to go through... Hold on, let me just stop that a minute. So when I say I leave everything at default, I leave everything at default. And I'm not joking. As in the NVIDIA app, I don't mess around with things. In the NVIDIA control panel, everything is on application controlled. In the Adrenaline software, the only thing that I believe I'm running in the Adrenaline software is smart access memory, so SAM's enabled. I don't have any of the HyperRX BS running. There's no fluid motion frames running. I haven't gone in and tuned around with my colors because I don't feel the need to. They seem fine. So when I play back any material at default settings, everything looks the same. And that's the argument I'm having, is in, well, at default, they're the same. So once you change colors on something, why would you expect the colors to then look the same on the other thing that you didn't change or will adjust in a different way? Strange argument, but there we go. So at this moment in time, we are looking at Cyberpunk. We are at 4K. We have everything maxed out, but we are running with no ray tracing, and we are running with no upscaling. So we are native, no resolution scaling, no frame generation, no ray tracing. We have all of the other things that would interfere, so your film grains, your chromatic aberration, depth of field, lens blur, motion blur, all of that stuff is off, and everything else is on high, ultra, whatever it is. That's it. So this, as you can see in the top corner, is on the RTX GPU. So obviously at 4K, you can see performance at native is pretty crazy. Obviously, we've got screen space reflections on Psycho. So you can see at native, it's not the best image in the world. It's fine, but there is some anti-aliasing issues. You can see some stuff up here. You can see these things are kind of a little bit iffy, not horrendous. And as far as details, look at the details. I can see kind of, I mean, this is, I'm going to be running a better game after this, a far more texture. We're going to, well, I say better game. We're going to go into the First Descendant. I've got some scenes in there with way more detail, so we can actually check next to each other, like for like, actual sharp looking textures. So we've now moved over onto the AMD GPU. Again, we're at native, so no resolution scale, everything's set to the same, and the same image. So you can see there's a fair bit of noise up here. These things here are relatively noisy again. And other than that, I don't see much difference. We will quick flick back between each one and the other. Point out if you see any type of superior. Obviously, this is the problem with this game is you do have ever-changing light that will happen. So I'm not expecting, you know, I've done quite a lengthy recording on the NVIDIA. I did more recording after obviously this one scene because I went through all the presets. So time of day did change a bit, shadows did change a bit, but as far as it goes, this is me going between the AMD and the NVIDIA. AMD, NVIDIA. I mean, the length of argument of the difference in color, I'm expecting by doing this to see something extremely substantial. Because we're talking, the argument is people that are saying that they used a NVIDIA ages ago and now they're using an AMD and they can tell the colors are different. I can't tell the colors are different just by doing this. They can use a GPU, take it out of their machine, put in another one. I don't know what the time frame would be in between of them doing that, and they can tell the difference. I mean, if you look at, obviously this is a game asset. This map is loaded into the game. It is part of the game. It's part of the same color palette. Do you see that change in color? It looks absolutely identical to me, as in there is no difference. The game scene itself, well, maybe the lighting had changed a little bit as the shadows had moved over. I still don't see the difference. It doesn't help that obviously those cars are parked on the sidewalks, but... And then we're going to look at... Unfortunately, my recording doesn't immaculately line up. But if you look at, obviously... I mean, this isn't great on textures. You can kind of see these textures in the floors. You can see details like... apparently in the other video that I was just watching, this doesn't show up on the NVIDIA GPU. Shows up on my NVIDIA GPU. Using the same settings on both systems, it's there. So everything on both seems to be the same. I'm not seeing, and I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I mean, oh no, because we are in a slightly different place. I was going to say that piece of paper is not showing up on the AMD one, but it is. It's just there, so it's kind of behind a reflection which is moved over, because those two things do move over in the scene. So, I mean, you look at all of, obviously, these kind of details of the smudges below the windows, any of this stuff. I see it in both. There is nothing that I see different at all. And yes, this is the 7900 XTX running at 405 watts or whatever it is. This is the 4080, which does run quite high. This is the highest it basically runs in this game. This is paired with a 13700K at 5.5 gigahertz. And this is paired with a 7800X3D, which has PBO enabled. So I must be missing something. And if you see it, please shout it out. Because apparently it is so big, that if you were to stop this game on one system and then load up the other system, you would instantly notice the superior colors and the better visuals and the more textures on the AMD GPU. But I can play back footage from both right next to each other, and I can't see a fucking thing. Which makes me think that my XTX has to be broken. There's something wrong with it. So that's at native. And native, like I said, it's not great. So then we will have a quick look at performance, because this is obviously, this whole thing has been brought about because of DLSS4 performance level looking very good, and the kickback of apparently it not looking any better. In fact, apparently FSR3 at performance level with these same settings looks significantly better. Those were the words that I heard. I don't care about these GPUs. They're just GPUs. They're just a piece of metal to me. So whatever. I'm not going to stick up for a brand or say this brand is better or this brand is better. I'm going to relay to the public, in my honest opinion, what looks better and what does not look better. So this is at performance, and you can see even actually at performance, this is cleared up to a degree at something like quality. DLSS quality in this game looks better than native. And it's slightly better in these areas, but at performance this is actually very good. So you can see we're on the RTX here at performance. All of this stuff that was at native actually probably looks cleaner now. It's maybe more obvious. That could be a slight change in shadows or lighting, as the day and night cycle in this game is crazy quick. When you're trying to record quite a lot, it can change quite drastically. The last couple of days I've done probably about an hour of recording on it, and I'm sure I've gone through 2 day cycles in an hour. So that's obviously the RTX. Like I said, this is using now, you saw it there, so we're using DLSS, we're using the new transformer model, and we're at performance. We're not using any ray tracing, and same settings, everything's on high or psycho, and yeah, so that was it. And then we'll go to the RTX XTX GPU, which is, where is it? Yes, so it's here. So super resolution 3 at performance, obviously no ray tracing. None of this stuff is on to interfere with anything. We're not using any frame generation. There's no fluid motion frames. There's no hyper RX. There is no nothing. Everything is turned off in the AMD Adrenalin software. The only thing that I believe could be on would be smart access memory, and that is it. I don't even use their kind of anti-lag or any of that stuff. So this is, as you can see, performance FSR3 on the AMD GPU, which to me does not look particularly good. You can see, obviously, this is now worse than what it was at native quite considerably. This up here is obviously quite nasty. This thing can't resolve itself. And the character models have kind of turned a bit muddy and blurry. It looks considerably more lower in resolution than obviously if we flick to this, which looks a lot cleaner, a lot crisper. I haven't changed any sharpening. The game is on its, you can see. So this is at default 50%. And this is at default sharpness 50%. So FSR performance, take a good look, revel in it. That's it. You can see it's quite noisy in places. It gets worse when you move. I don't think DLSS at performance gets that much worse when you move. The one thing that you will notice it doesn't actually show up as much. I think it's because I moved angle. You will sometimes get a bit of aliasing in some of these lines with DLSS at performance. When you put path tracing on, it completely goes, which is interesting. So for whatever reason, path tracing actually helps it even more. Obviously, I can only assume that's from the ray reconstruction. So we'll move over to the next one. Well, if everyone's happy with that, I don't think there's much more to see there. I think native obviously looked better than that. This is kind of a mixture. In fact, I think that's far off native, because native in this game isn't actually really that great. So we'll move away from that one, and then we'll go to what we can push with the RTX 4080 versus what we technically can't with the 7900 XTX. So we're going to do a fair comparison of both GPUs. They both cost, or they certainly both cost me a very similar amount of money. I think the XTX was about £70 cheaper. So the AMD GPU was slightly cheaper. That was obviously just under £1,000. It is the Sapphire Nitro, so it is probably one of the most expensive ones that was available. So Sapphire Nitro XTX. And then, yeah, like I said, I paid around about £70 more for the NVIDIA, the RTX 4080. So this is path tracing on. You can kind of see it there. So exactly the same settings. All we've done is we've turned on path tracing. Turned on path tracing is automatically set on DLSS reconstruction. We're not using frame generation or anything at this moment in time. And we'll kind of go through. This is obviously, you'll see it's relatively clean. It completely transforms, obviously, the image. The image is completely different now. So it completely changes the whole lighting of the game. Very kind of vibrant. Obviously, a lot of light coming from the side. This stuff, you will see, has this problem where it takes a little bit of time. You don't really notice it in game. That bit's flickering a little bit. Everything else is pretty clean. Obviously, we've changed to a little bit of a different image. See if there's any aliasing on any of these trees or anything like that. They're all relatively clean. Everything to me looks pretty damn good to say that we are at 1080p to 4K upscale, basically. I think we move across to this screen. You can see everything is pretty clean. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything that's actually aliasing at all in this scene. No, I don't think there's nothing. All of these trees up here are okay. All of this road surface is okay. Everything seems pretty good. There's nothing in anything down here. It's all as you would like it to be. A shame that these recordings never quite look the same back as what they do in real life. It looks better in real life than, unfortunately, by the time it's been recorded and then sent to YouTube. It's something that you obviously really do need to try yourself. So then we've moved over to the AMD GPU, and we've done the exact same thing. We've turned on the ray tracing, we've turned on the path tracing, still using FSR at performance level, and this is what you get. So I don't probably need to say much more. I completely agree with anyone that comes and says, well, you don't buy one of these GPUs for its RT performance. I agree. I'm just showing, basically, it's not even showing, it's a comparison. Hopefully it kind of is a fair, I don't think I could be any more fair. I mean, if someone thinks that I can go onto one system and adjust the colors to somehow, I'm not spending my life messing around adjusting colors to try and match. Like I said, they're at default. Believe me, don't believe me, it makes no difference to me. So the difference is probably quite substantial in what you're seeing, as you can see. A pretty huge difference. It looks like a completely different resolution. That is a complete blur fest. I actually think 1080p would look better. But like I said, so we'll look at, oh, did I not? Yeah. So there's the plant area. You can see obviously there's aliasing. This thing's gone to absolute trash. This is kind of some aliasing over here. I don't think this game does load textures. Distant textures don't normally load in a lot on this game. It might be worse in this scenario, because those do look like crazy low res. That's that obviously thing, and then we'll go back to this area and you can kind of see that there's all sorts of stuff going on. It's just an incredibly low resolution looking screen compared to, obviously, we go back to that one. Where was it? There. Round about there? Yeah. I mean, the difference is massive. Whether that comes across on YouTube or not, I don't know. But, I mean, even like the close stuff like this looks... I don't even know if you can pick up any of, like, you can obviously see the textures in this tree. Can you even pick that up with... you might do. Yeah, you can kind of, to a degree. You can tell there's something on it. It's not particularly pleasant, but... So, there we go. I've got nothing more to say on it. I'm not going to go any further on this game now. I think that's fair for anyone to see. That's my experience. I can only say what my experience is. I can only assume that there's something wrong with my GPU, my system, because I can only be honest and show you exactly what I see, and exactly what I see is what I'm showing you. I don't see a difference. Obviously at native, at this level I see a difference. Obviously when you're using an upscaler I see a difference. I think that's probably quite apparent. But when I'm at native, I don't see a difference in colors. If there is, it's extremely slight. And I don't see this crazy high texture thing happening either. We'll go into another game. Like I said, we're going to look at the first Descendant. I've got a scene which has got a lot more fine details going on, and we'll go through that. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know in the comments, and let me know what is wrong with my AMD GPU, because apparently I'm being told that the settings that these other people that are using it at default, which really confuses me, because mine at default appears to be very different from other people's at default. Let me know. I'll catch you in the next one.